table where we laughed and talked all day. So long ago, love was offered. The joy of being together made you want to stay. Take me back to now.
Yay, I got my package today. Welcome back to Life with Nana. I'm Nana and I'm so glad you're here today. I'm glad you're here today because I got this package in the mail. This is actually from my niece, and she has an Etsy store, and she is starting out selling sourdough starter. I just can't wait to get started making sourdough bread again. No worries, anything happening to your package. This one was really wrapped up. All right, so here's our starter. Just comes in a little package just like that, and it's going to tell you in these instructions exactly how to get this going and to make bread. So I will keep you posted. I'll take you along with me every step of the way. Okay, we're ready to get going on our sourdough starter. And let me get a towel to wipe my hands because I don't want to get the package of this wet. We're going to zero it out again. It should take about half of these. Okay, we're going to put this back on here and we're going to zero this out again. I'm going to put my dehydrated sourdough starter in there. I'm going to zero that out again. I have some warm water, and you're going to add 25 grams. So I'm going to be very, very gentle. I'm at 18. All right, 25, just perfect. We're going to swirl this around, and we're going to let this sit for 1 hour. I'm just loosely cover it. And when we come back, we will add some flour and whatever else it tells us to do. So I'm going to reread those instructions. So it says, put your 5 grams of flakes in a jar. And then reserve these. And this has a little zipper seal, so that's really nice. And you can just put that, I will probably put mine down in a jar, and that way I'll be good. And then it says to take the 5 grams of flakes in your jar, add 25 grams of lukewarm water, stir. I just kind of moved them around in here to ensure that all of them are wet. Loosely cover jar and leave alone for 1 hour. The flakes will not be dissolved, but in an hour they will be softer. So after an hour, you're going to add 20 grams of flour to the dissolved mixture and stir well, being sure to scrape the sides of the jar to incorporate any dry bits and loosely cover jar. I use a coffee filter secured with a rubber band. That was my niece that she said to do that. So I won't be using this. If possible, place in a warm, draft-free place. All right, we're going to do that, and then 24 hours later, we will do the next step. So I'll bring you back when we put the flour in. All right, it is day 2, and what I'm doing now is I'm going to get 10 grams of the starter. This is my original that I mixed up yesterday. And so I need to get just a little more out of this jar. You just need 10 grams. All right, so Now we've got our 10 grams in here, and then we have the discard. There's just a little bit, and I'm going to put it in this little jar when I'm finished. So, all right, we've got 10 grams of this. And then we're going to do 25 grams of all-purpose flour. And I went ahead and pre-measured it. I just find that it's easier that way to get everything pre-measured before you get started. So we have 10 grams of starter, 25 grams of flour, and now we're going to put 25 grams of warm water, room temperature water. And I'm using a chopstick because I just find that easier, but you use whatever you want. And I'm going to stir this up real well. Okay. And now we're going to put our coffee filter over it and put our rubber band around it, or hair tie, or whatever you've got. Now, what I found was the most important thing is that this is kept in a warmer place, but also a place you see it, okay? So I'm going to set it over there. I'm going to set it over by my refrigerator, but I'm going to make sure that I can see this jar. All right, so that's all there is to that. That was day 2, and day 3 is exactly like today, okay? So just repeat day 3 tomorrow, and then the following day, I'll bring you back and we'll continue on with this project. Okay, guys, we're ready to make our first loaf of sourdough bread. So sourdough bread takes a little time, and it takes some trial and error on your part. The first loaf that you make may not turn out the way you want it to. So you just have to keep going, okay? So we're going to see how this one turns out. Hopefully it'll turn out really well. Now, when you get your starter in, it's going to tell you how to activate that starter. Okay, so once you get to the point where you want to make the bread, you're going to have to find you a sourdough bread recipe. Now, the sheet that is sent with your starter has several places that you can go to, different creators that make bread and do all that. I just Googled it myself, and I found this recipe. So this is the one we're going to go with today. We're going to try it. Okay, so the very first thing that you're going to do are mix these ingredients together. And I have 475 grams of flour. That's approximately 3.5 cups. You're going to have 10 grams of salt, or about 2 teaspoons. You're going to have 325 grams of water. That's about 1 1/3 cups. And then about 100 grams of starter that you have fed the night before, and it's all bubbly and active and all that. That's going to be about 1/2 cup. So we're going to start out, we're just going to combine this. So when I first started making sourdough, I just ordered this little set. It had the dough that you can use to rise it on the last proof, and it had this handy little mixer thing. I don't know what you call that. Anyway, so I'm going to mix the first thing I'm going to do, that and the salt. I'm going to get that mixed together. And the next thing I'm going to do, Let's get this mixed up. Boy, if you forget the salt, you're gonna know it. You're gonna know that very quickly. Let me see. All right, so I have my water here and my starter, and I'm going to add the starter to the water. The water just needs to be warm. And we're just going to mix that together. We're going to keep mixing this together until the starter and water are kind of incorporated. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right. The next thing is, I'm going to set my bowl on this so it doesn't make such a noise. And we're going to mix these two together. And you should have a wet, what they call shaggy dough. So this is not going to come together like you see a nice round little ball, you know. It's going to be just kind of shaggy. And it says to resist the temptation to add more water, so I'm over here resisting. Because what you're wanting to do is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this mixed together the best we can. And it doesn't look hydrated at all right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to cover this and we're going to let it sit for 30 minutes. And then when we start the stretching phase, you can wet your hands, and that's going to add a little bit of water to this. This is looking pretty good. All right. So I'm going to put some plastic on this. I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes, and we'll come back when I'm ready to start the next phase. All right, so we have let this sit for 30 minutes and hydrate, and we're going to take the plastic wrap off. Now, it may stretch, it may not. Move this. I am going to put just a little water on my hands because it still looks just a little dry. And so, what you want to do is try to stretch it like that and fold it over. You're going to turn and just kind of stretching it, and just a little water because it does still feel dry to me. And then we're going to do the same thing. And you just kind of have to, these first few times, you have to let it kind of bounce down. And you want to do this a full round, and you want to do it twice. It gets easier as the dough gets hydrated. In fact, I can already feel a difference. It's already getting kind of elastic feeling. We're just going to turn it over, seam side down, and we're going to put the plastic wrap back on it. Let me see how long we're going to let it rest another 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll do this very same thing again. Alright, so it's been 30 minutes, and we're going to stretch the dough again. This builds muscle. You don't want to put a lot of water on your hands at this time. This is just to kind of keep it from sticking to you. You see how much different that is? You're going to do this 2 times. So going around 4 times equals 1. We'll turn our bowl a quarter of a turn. Pull and stretch. Pull and stretch. One more time. All right. Now, wash my hands. And now we're going to cover this and let it sit for 6 hours, 6 to 12 hours. We're just going to put it somewhere nice and warm, but not too warm. Okay, so I let my dough hang out in the refrigerator all night, and it looks like it's doing good. I had it covered with some cling wrap. Now we're going to turn the dough out onto a floured surface. Smells really wonderful. And we're just going to knead this about 8 or 10 times. I'm just going to keep turning it, forming it into a nice round ball. Now I have my bowl here, and I'm going to put quite a bit of flour in it. All right. Now you want to put it the smooth side up, because when we turn it out onto into our Dutch oven, we want this side, which is not going to be the attractive side, We want it upside down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this back over because I had it sprayed with some cooking oil, and when I've got my Dutch oven in the oven, it needs to preheat in there for 1 hour, and we're going to let this hang out and rise, and we'll see if it needs an hour or 2 hours, and we can just leave the Dutch oven in there for as long as we need to. So, all right, I'll bring you back when we're finished. All right, we're ready to put the bread in the oven. I hope it turns out good, y'all. This is the first loaf. Sometimes the first 5 loaves don't do as well as you'd like them. You just got to keep going along and keep trying and trying and trying, okay? So I have a piece of parchment paper that I crumpled up, and I didn't want to do that in your ear with the microphone. That's going to be going down inside the pot. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is to try to get this turned over so that it'll come out of this bowl. Oh, look at that. And it doesn't look like it has risen very much. That's typical for your first loaf or two. I'll put that down in here. And we're going to take a razor blade and we're going to score this. I'm just going to put a line down the middle and a few little cuts off to the side. That just lets air escape, and it'll cause it to open up where you want it to. So the next thing we're going to do, my oven is on 500 degrees. We're going to put the lid back on it. We're going to put it back in the oven. We're going to bake it for 20 minutes with the lid on. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to take the lid off, and we'll bake it another 15 to 25 minutes. And then we'll check it with a thermometer to see if it's done. All right, first 20 minutes, then we're going to turn the oven down and we'll cook it another 15 to 20. And I'll bring you back. Well, all right, everybody, we're back, and the bread is ready, and I'm going to take it out of the pan. Look how beautiful. Look how gorgeous that is. Now I am going to put a little butter on the top. And it's important that you don't cut into this until it cools down. If you cut into bread before it cools down, it'll get gummy on the inside, and we do not want that. But I think this is a success. I'm so thankful to my niece for the starter. I highly recommend that you go to her Etsy shop and get some sourdough starter if you are wanting to make some sourdough. Nana loves you. Nana's so proud of you. I'm really proud of this bread today too. And remember, you always have a friend here. Love you guys.